Hi Homeworthy, I'm Ashton Swanson. Welcome to my home in Mesa, Arizona. Come on in, let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Ashton Swanson. Welcome to my 550 square foot home in Mesa, Arizona. I'm a vintage owner. I am the founder of VA Collective. I do photography and I'm also a content creator. My fiance and I have been here about 3 years now, and the story of how we ended up here is quite fun. I actually feel like I manifested this home in a way. We had been dating about 8 months at the time, and we found it realistically really difficult to see each other. We lived very far from each other, and our schedules didn't permit much time. We knew in the near future we wanted to move in together. We weren't planning on it right at this moment, but one night I randomly was looking online. I was curious what type of rentals were out there. I knew I did not want to be in an apartment. I really wanted to find a townhome, a guest home. I really wanted to live in the historic part of Mesa, Arizona. And it just so happened the next morning, my really good friend texted me and asked if we were interested in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in a historic neighborhood in downtown Mesa. I could not believe it. I was so thrilled. I went and viewed the home that next day, and we both paid the deposit immediately. Welcome to our living room. This is the room that we spend most of our time in. I'm gonna kind of start over here in this corner, starting with this beautiful lampshade. This was actually a shade that I made myself. I had some scrap fabric from Merchant & Mills, which is a beautiful company based out of England. And so I really like this right here. Coming down right here, these florals were actually from my friend who has a garden here in Arizona. And we went out together and picked them just a couple days ago. And so I have a lot of her florals seen about my home, and they're just fantastic. We have this adorable side table. This was a vintage find at an antique store. It's really fun because my fiance and I love to spend time finding good, amazing pieces at thrift stores, antique stores, whatever you can imagine, estate sales. This one I actually saw, and I had taken a photo of it, and a couple days later I was still thinking about it. I purchased it and it was painted brown. Not a big fan of painting furniture. I think it's beautiful to keep the wood natural, but if it is painted as I purchase it, I'm willing to change the color to make it fit my home a little better. So we ended up doing it in the color Gallery Red by Farrow & Ball. We went back to go get it, and my fiance was pretty bummed because I had already been there, and he was like, oh darn, you're not gonna wanna spend more time walking around here. And I'm like, no, of course, we can do it. So I think it's one of our favorite things together is to go, like I said, to antique stores. We spend a lot of time there and make wonderful memories finding items for our home together. Coming down here, I have this really stunning Turkish pottery. I really like to incorporate different styles in my home. I think any home deserves to have a combination of different styles to really help it feel collected and to give it a lot of depth and dimension. Although I do tend to lean a lot towards the cottage vibe, I also, like I said, like to mix different styles in my home. Over here, I have this tile up on the wall, and I actually got this again this May when we were in England. There is an antique vendor there that I have seen now 2 times, and she's such a wonderful friend of mine. She actually gifted me this tile, and so this is really special to us, and I like displaying it right there on the wall. So I've mentioned my fiance and I love to travel, and our favorite place we've been to is England. We actually, the very first time we went, we stayed at this really charming cottage. It's owned by an interior designer, Vix, and she actually owns a shop, Studio Fager, in London. And so when we were there last year, I purchased this little wall candle at her shop there. And we love the scent it gives, and it's very long lasting, and so and it's also very cute, so we love that. These are some playing cards from John Deerian, and I purchased these in England at Cutterbrook shop, owned by Amanda Brooks. She no longer has a shop open, but this is such a sweet memory because her shop was our favorite in Stow on the Wold. And so we love having these handy for game nights and whatnot. So my curtains were actually sewn by my good friend Colette. She actually sewed quite a bit of curtains for me in my home, and I really love it because they were very bespoke and I was able to hand pick my own fabric that I wanted to use. We decided to do a layered look here We love it because it gives more privacy, as well as I love a layered window in general. I think it just really keeps the eye moving, and it creates such a beautiful vignette right here as well. This is one of my favorites. My last name, like I've said earlier, is Swanson. So I've always had a major fascination to swans. In our home as well, we like to add a bit of feminine and masculine to really, like I said, create an environment that feels well balanced. And I think swans are very fun. They're very feminine, but also dominant at the same time. And so that's one of our favorite finds that we have displayed right over here. Over here is this hutch that we found from Facebook Marketplace. Prior to having this here, we had a little low dresser and there wasn't much space for me to store and display all of my beautiful vintage items that I've collected. And so we really love this hutch because it allows us to have ample space to display everything. Coming over here, you're gonna notice there's lots of animals we have about our home. This is a darling little cow we have. My fiance and I love animals, especially we love dogs and sheep and all of that, and we are obviously not allowed to have them because we're renting, so we kind of make up for that with little animal characters all about the home. Here's some of our books over here. We love to collect books. I frequent estate sales often, and it's always fun to find rare books at estate sales, and so we like to have those all displayed up there. This is a really sweet find. This is a little cottage that I found secondhand, and it reminds me of this cottage that I've actually been to in England. So I have this displayed up here together, and I'm gonna pull out this book. My friend gifted me this for my birthday this year, and it's the same cottage. So it's really fun to have all those three things kind of right there displayed. And it is one of our favorite cottages that we've been to just to visit while we've been in England. So that's fun right there. This is a film photo I took when we were in Carmel this April for my 30th birthday. It was just on a drive that we had done, and my fiance was obsessed with the drive down the Big Sur coast. I had been a few times, and so we pulled over and took this photo of these cows, and we just love this picture right there. Over here, this was a photograph that we took on our engagement trip, actually. We got engaged last fall, and so that's really sweet to have that there. Over here is a duck that we got when we were in England. We love ducks as well, so that's cute. Coming down over here, we'll start with this ivy frame. I have a photo of my mom and fiance. We took her to England with us last spring, and I think this thrifted ivy frame is so cute because ivy reminds us, of course, of the Cotswolds. And then this lamp right here is a really fun story. My fiance and I were in Italy. We were actually in Sardinia, and we did a day off of the coast of Sardinia. We went to an island called Carloforte. We were walking into this store. It was not a vintage store, but this lamp was in there, and my jaw dropped when I saw it. It's onyx stone. It did not have wiring when we purchased it, and so we had to rewire it ourselves. But it's such a fun memory because I carried that home in my arms on 4 flights, and I don't regret it. I would never get rid of this lamp that we have right there. This is a pretty jar that I just have some of our matchbooks displayed in. One of our favorite things to do in the evening is to light a candle and just spend time together on the couch. And so we love to have these nearby and handy for lighting our candles. This is a really fun sketch that we got when we were in England again. We were in Stowe on the Wold. And I just love it because it's a cottage, and again, I am very influenced and inspired by the English countryside, and I love anything cottage. So this is a really sweet little sketch that we have displayed back there. Over here we have these little folk homes. We got these, we were actually, like I said, in the Cotswolds in May. I found these at just a little boutique store, and my mom was with us on this trip, and when I picked these up and I purchased them and I left the store and she saw what I found, she had to go in and get a set for herself too. So this is kind of fun because we both have these in our home now displayed, and I think they're so adorable on the shelf right there. So down in here, I have a painting in here. It might be kind of hard to see because it's a bit shadowed, but my fiance actually picked that out himself at an antique store we were at last summer. And it's funny because I brought it to I was going to bring it to the shop, my vintage shop, and I ended up pulling it and keeping it, and we love having it displayed down there. Next to it is a gorgeous Italian vase. So this is one of my favorite thrifted finds. It actually came with a sister set, and I had a much taller vase that I sold at the vintage market that I mentioned I'm a vendor at. I love finding pieces that have markings on the bottom, and I just think this one is really beautiful. And then I have these really beautiful quilts displayed over here. This one was actually found at a garage sale. This one was from an estate sale, and this was one that we previously actually had on our bed. And I really like displaying my quilts on the hutch. I just think it gives a different texture down there with the patterns and with the actual fabric. And I really like how they look down there. This little quirky piece up here is so fun. We purchased this when we were in Mexico, our first summer of dating, and it was actually the first piece that we bought for our home. And I use it to display or to hold my clothespins that we use for laundry. And I just think he's so fun and quirky and eclectic, and I love having his little feet hanging over the ledge like that. Coming over here, this is a lamp that I also was one of the first purchases when we had started renting our home. My mom and I were at an antique store together, and I found this lamp, and I was so obsessed with it, and she loved it so much too that she kept offering to buy it off of me, and I wouldn't give it up. It's really sweet because about a year and a half later, I ended up finding one for her on Facebook Marketplace, and I surprised her and gave it to her for Mother's Day. And she was so over the moon thrilled about it, and so we both have each of these in our home, and it's really fun. We have this art up here on the wall. I found this frame at a thrift store down the street that I also like to go to quite often. And the print came later. It's from a vintage shop. Her name is Coco Shalom. And we connected on Instagram, and she has so many amazing folk art prints on her website. And I was trying to decide which one I should get, and this one really resonated with me because it's very folk. And also my fiance loves cowboy culture and Western art. And so I thought it was perfect for our home. And the title of it is Get Off Your High Horse. And then over here, this is probably one of our favorite paintings we have in our home. We got engaged last fall in Vermont in an apple orchard while we were picking apples. It was just my fiance and I, no photographer, but it was such a dreamy proposal. And that same day, I knew I wanted a painting of an apple in my home. And so I purchased one on Etsy that day, and we love it. Apples definitely have a different meaning for us now. Coming down, this is just a picture that we printed of us. We took this photo in an analog photo booth in New York City. That one's really fun, and this is this cute folk dog. So I purchased this from an antique store, and when I brought it home first, my fiance was a little skeptical. He thought he looked a little spooky, a little scary. But he ended up actually displaying him here. I had him in the bedroom, and he wanted him here because he found this piece down here at an antique store. My fiance actually picked that one out, and he was going to use it on the side of his bed and ended up thinking it would be really cute displayed right here with our dog. It's also really funny because he calls us our guard dog. It's guarding our bedroom. So that's really sweet over there. This is the centerpiece, I think, of this entire room. This is my most prized possession. I don't think I'll ever have a greater thrifted find than this. This is our gorgeous marble mantle. We were actually doing a little day trip up north to northern Arizona to pick up a table off of Facebook Marketplace that we no longer have in our home. We love to also incorporate thrifting. As if we're on a day trip, we always have to include a little bit of secondhand shopping, and we went into an antique store that just had furniture. We saw this marble mantle, and I was smitten by it. We didn't know if it was gonna fit in our home though, so we made the long drive back home. And I measured, and as soon as I knew it was gonna work, I called the antique shop and we paid over the phone and ended up picking it up the following week. We actually had this displayed in a different area of our home, and we recently moved it here around the holidays. And we really like it here. I think it really is the center point of the room, and it's such a conversation starter. Anytime we have guests in our home, they love to ask about this mantle. This ship right here, my fiance and I both love coastal, but this one especially, I like the American flag on it. I think it's kind of different than what you typically see. It's such a memory for me as well. My childhood, I spent summers in California. My uncle has owned a few sailboats over the years of my childhood growing up, and we would go sailing. We would stay on the boat and sleep overnight and go sailing in the morning and in the evening. And so this really just reminds me of those fun summer memories that I made as a kid growing up. This is another Staffordshire dog. We actually, when we were in London I mentioned Studio Fager. She had a set of these in her shop, and I regretted not getting them, and I just love the peachy snout and the golden eyes. And I found these actually on Etsy, and I was so floored because it's obviously Staffordshire is very unique, and it's sometimes more rare and hard to collect, and so I just love having these displayed on my mantle. I think they're adorable. So we have these candle holders up here on the wall. This is another fun story. My mom was actually going to give me one of them for Christmas, and she waited too long to purchase them, and it was gone by the time she wanted to get it for me. So after the holiday, we stumbled upon a set. So we actually found two, which was so amazing because I love having them displayed up here. And one of them actually cracked upon arrival, but it didn't matter to me. I glued it back together, and I love items that have a little bit of imperfection. I think it really tells a story, and it just adds to the charm of the piece. This is actually an acrylic painting that I painted. I'm not a painter by any means. This is the one and only I've ever done. I really wanted to have a piece here that kind of brought the blues in the room and kind of tied it in right here. We actually used to have our art that reminds us of Croatia that's now in the entryway. It used to be up above the mantle, but I felt like the mantle is a bit heavy with the color, and I wanted something a little bit brighter to counteract and to kind of help balance it out a little bit. So this painting, I was inspired by something that I had scrolled past on Pinterest, and the morning that I painted this, it was a cloudy, rainy day, which my fiance and I love cloudy weather here. We don't get it often. And so it was a really lovely morning. I was painting. I had some classical music playing. My fiance woke up and walked in and saw me painting. And it's such a beautiful memory. I'm my biggest critic, of course, of this painting. But I don't think even if I didn't want it up there, my fiance wouldn't let me take it down because he loves it so much. And he just thinks it's really special. This is really fun. This is actually a match striker. I love the vintage ones, the vintage French match strikers. This is a replica. It's not vintage, but I got it on Etsy. Etsy is one of my favorite places to source anything for my home. I love to bring pieces from all over the world into my home and find them from Etsy. This is a candle that we got in England. So there's a shop there called Dalesford Farm. Any of my friends that frequent England or live there would definitely know what I'm talking about. So when we go to the cottage I mentioned in England, there's a Dalesford 5 minutes down the road. We spend probably at least 2 times a day at Dalesford getting pastries, orange juice, produce. They have some of the best produce there. We love to cook while we're there. And so we have lots of fun memories at Dalesford. I have a few items in my home that I've purchased there that you'll see a little bit later. Again, I love quirky candle holders. That's just another one over there. Coming down, this painting here is really fun. I'm going to bring this up close because it's one of our favorites. I got this at a car boot sale in England. It's kind of an interesting size, so it took me a while to find a frame for this piece. But I was very patient, and I waited a couple years until I finally found the right frame for it. We really love this painting because it reminds us, again, of the Cotswolds. There's a famous picturesque spot called Bibury, and there's a very picturesque photograph area that people love to take pictures of. And right out there, they have chairs in this same blue and white stripe, and so it reminds us a lot of our time in Bibury. My fiance, when we found a frame for it, we didn't know where we were going to put it on our walls. We definitely have limited space here living in a small home, but he suggested we prop it up right by our book since he's reading a book, and I thought that was an incredible idea. So here's another really fun photograph. Again, we took photos in an analog photo booth, and this was taken in New York City on our engagement trip. We spent a day road tripping from Vermont to Boston to Rhode Island to Connecticut, and then ended in the city that evening. It was a very long-winded day, but we spent the rest of our trip in the city, and this was a really fun picture. I was showing off my ring, even though you can't see it. I really love the energy that this photo is. It's very happy, and it reminds us of course, such good times. This is a cute little German flower child. This is a vintage one. I like this one because it's a natural wood. A lot of times you see them and they have some color on them, and I think that one's really sweet. So as I said, we love to collect books. We have such a collection of them that they've just overflowed and they end up on the floor because we don't have too many places to put them. These are our coffee table books. We love to thumb through these. And then these books over here, my fiance and I go through phases where we read quite often and other times where we're not reading as much. So I honestly think when we're in the reading phase, we end up purchasing maybe too many books, and so that's why we have quite a plethora of them. Another thing we really love to collect when we're traveling is books. I would say everywhere we travel, we come home with at least 4 to 5 books. And so it's fun because it, of course, reminds us of our travels. I mean, we have this Vermont book over here from where we got engaged. I think that one's just so cute up top because it reminds us of our trip there. Down here, we have a basil plant, and I really love the aroma of basil. My fiance and I both do, and I think that that's really fun. Moving along, over here is one of our most special pieces of art in our home. This was a sketch that we had done of ourselves while we were in Paris for our 1-year anniversary. We were in Montmartre actually, and there's a square there that has a lot of licensed artists. We spent about half a day there. We got 3 artworks done in total, but this one we have displayed here. I like that it's a little bit cartoonish, but it's really fun, and it's such a conversation starter for sure. So this is fabric that I got from Merchant & Mills again. I have quite a bit of their fabric in my home. This one I actually did not hem. I just added the curtain rings up top, and I really like that it feels different than the other curtain panels we have in our home. It's really soft and airy. It lets light travel through, but it feels, again, very whimsy, and I honestly just love having curtains through entryways. I just think it really draws your eye up and keeps the eye interested again. So over here we have a painting below our light from Pookie Lights actually. This is one of our favorite paintings. Again, I know I keep saying that, but it's really hard because we just have a lot that we really love. But this one I think is especially important to us. I found this artist on Etsy actually, and I have another painting of hers in my home, but she has such wonderful art to pick from. I'm having a very difficult time choosing which painting of hers to purchase, and my fiance always loves to help with his opinion too. And so he picked this one, and it's really special because it reminds him of his grandfather. He actually had a painting of his late grandfather in his childhood home. His grandfather was a cowboy. His roots are from Mexico, and so it's really an ode to where he came from. It's really special to us. And then coming over here on top of this mirror is a really fun banner that I have displayed. We had this up actually around the holidays, and I never took it down because I just thought it was so fun. It's actually from a shop in England. Her name is Tessa Lazelle. I found her from Pinterest. I do love to find inspiration on Pinterest. Some of the pieces that I have in my home I found from Pinterest first. And this is made out of scrap leather, and so it's really fun because it's upcycled, and I think it's just really cute and adds a personal touch, and it's very whimsical. Coming over here, we have this beautiful pine chair. So I was at an estate sale, and I saw this amazing pine desk. I, of course, don't have space in my home for that, but I convinced my mom she needed it. And it came with this really beautiful chair, and she wanted me to have the chair since I wasn't able to keep the pine desk. And so I really love this chair. And then we just, again, have some of our books displayed there. I love to decorate with books. I think it gives depth and also allows us to give some height in our home in areas that feels a little bit low. So over here I'm gonna start with this light fixture that we have. So my fiance and he took me to Carmel for my 30th birthday, and while there we visited 2 restaurants, La Bicyclette and Casanova. And in both of the restaurants, they're very French European inspired cuisine, and even down to the design. And they had these light fixtures in there, and I've seen them before on some interior design pages on Instagram. And I really love them, but it just so happens my fiance loves them as much as me, if not even more. So when we came home, I decided to try and create it, and so I did. I made us a little lamp right here, and it really reminds us of France and just European culture in general. Like I said, we love to incorporate bits of our travels into our home, and it reminds us of our memories that we also spent at this restaurant that we ate at. Our server was named Ashton as well when we ate on my birthday, and so it really just gives us great memories of our time we spent there. So this painting over here is really a really sweet story as well. When we went to England our first time, we visited Bath, and we had never been there before. We didn't know the geography of the city. It was close to sunset when we made it there, and we turned a corner and we had this view of this bridge, and it was such a beautiful day, a beautiful memory. The second time we went back to England, we had my mom with us, and we took her to Bath, and there was a local artist on the street selling her paintings, and she had a painting of that bridge. And so we, of course, had to have that in our house, and I think it's just beautiful. Reminds us of our time there. I have some of my plates displayed on the wall again. I love incorporating plates on the wall all about my home. coming down to the couch, this one is really fun. So when we first moved in, we had a gorgeous yellow settee and ottoman, and I never thought I'd get rid of it. I was scrolling one night on Facebook Marketplace, doing my regular routine of that, and stumbled upon this couch. I didn't really have a need for it, but I wanted it. And so we went and picked up this sofa, and I am just in love with it. I think it's such a punch. It's such a statement. It pulls the red in the room together. I love the plaid, and I love the floral design. It's different than what you would typically see. And so that's really sweet. And then these are actually shams from Schoolhouse. And this is a thrifted pillow. And then over here, this top painting was another painting I sourced in England. It was from an antique vendor that I really connected with. We shared our love for antique items and travel, and she gave me an incredible deal on this painting. It's actually a French painting as well, and I just love the harbor scene. And then this painting down below, another really sweet story. I found this at a vintage market, and when I brought it home, my fiance and I, we both just loved it. We had it displayed on our walls in our home, and a little bit later, it started to chip. And so I decided I would bring it to my vintage shop, which I don't typically run anything by my fiance when I'm, choosing what I'm going to bring to my shop for the week. But he happened to see it post on my Instagram, and he was pretty bummed I was wanting to let go of this painting. He kind of pointed out that the chipping looks like a bag, and I really love that. And so when I knew he didn't want me to get rid of it, there was no way I was going to let go of this painting. And so we have it on our walls, and it reminds him of Paris, and we also just love rainy weather. And so that one's a really sweet painting right there. I'm going to actually bring you up over here above the doorway. There's a little sketch that I did of some geraniums. I would love to have geraniums in our home year round, but realistically, being in the heat, we don't have that option here. Geraniums remind me a lot of the Cotswolds, and so I really wanted to incorporate that piece in my home, and it was just a fun little sketch that I did on a notepad of just some notepad paper that I had from a boutique hotel that we stayed at in Carmel. This is my cute little lamb I'm going to show you because I'm in love with this one. This was an antique find. I actually got it again around the holidays, and it was an item that I didn't put away. It's going to be staying out year round, and she's just so cute. I love my little lamb there. These are some books back here that we frequent more often. Then coming over here is our couch. We spend so much time in this room. Our favorite thing to do at the end of the day is to just wind down on the couch and have good conversation. You'll notice we don't have a TV in this room. We actually use a projector, and it was my fiance's idea. When we first moved in, I had my TV here, and he suggested that we get rid of the TV, and I was totally about it because it meant I had more space to display on the walls. And so we love to cozy up on this couch. I really wanted to make it really comfy. We have this couch cover on top, and I have the Schoolhouse duvet. Actually, it's layered over the back of the couch, and I think it really adds a bit of color and more texture, and it pulls the blue in this corner. A few of these pillows on here I actually gifted myself for my 30th birthday. This is the company that the pillows are from. I'm gonna butcher the name, so I'm not gonna even try, but it's a Finnish company. They have really gorgeous cushions and textiles. And then I'm gonna bring you to this painting right here. I went to an estate sale one time, and there was it was an artist who had passed away, and she had 4 of her children just auctioning off all of her art. I left that day with 15 paintings, and I kept 3 of them, and this is one of them, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of her. I love her. I think she's so, so beautiful. Then we have a little apple plate right above. Again, we love apples, and so there will be little moments here and there where we see some apple art in our home. This ottoman actually was a purchase that came with the couch. There was a lady that was just selling off her neighbor's his estate, and we love this ottoman. We used to have, again, like I said, a matching yellow with our previous couch, but I really like that this gave us more space in the room. We love to have our coffee table books displayed that we read often. One of our favorite things to do is to host guests and family members in our home, and we keep these dinner cards out, and these are really fun conversation starters for when we have guests over. And this was something that I actually got in the Cotswolds in Lake Hawk is where I found this. It's a little match striker. It's super sweet. I love having jute rugs in my home. I'm pretty sure I have one in every single room. And I think this room was really fun to layer this rug on top of it. This was actually a thrift find, and it was rolled up and sitting in a closet for quite a while, and I finally decided, why don't we just layer it on top of our jute rug? And I think it's so beautiful. I get a lot of questions about where this rug was from, and I actually don't know because it was a thrift find and there's no tag on it, but I think it's really pretty and it really pulls in the creams that are in the room. My style is very cottage. I would say it's a bit of Scandinavian vibe. I love eclectic. I like color. I like prints and pattern. And my most important goal with my home is to make it feel cozy and inviting, a place you want to cuddle up, read a book, relax on the couch, and just feel at home. What I love most about my home is the feeling you feel when you're in here. My fiance and I really love having a cozy atmosphere to wind down in. We honestly spend most of our time at home. We're big homebodies, and it was really important to me that we created a space that invoked that feeling. And now let me take you to our bedroom. And on the way to the bedroom, I want to show you these plates I have displayed above. This is kind of fun. So these are olives on the plates, and my fiance and I do not care for olives, but my mom is in love with olives. She's obsessed with them, and so these just make me think of her, and I think they're so cute up above the doorway. So come on in here. This is our bedroom. So we love our cozy bed in here. This area, actually this corner, gets no light, and so when we first moved in with our bed here, our bed is an IKEA bed. It was dark velvet green, and I reupholstered this in this beautiful ticking stripe fabric and had my friend Colette sew these curtain panels to match. And we really love the cozy nook feeling that this bed provides. I added a cushion here on my bed and layered it with this beautiful quilt. And then coming over here, we have our Roman shades that were custom made from Etsy. They're great for privacy, and I really think that the print is so fun. This was a gift that my friend gave me for my 30th birthday. It's really special. I use it to hold my rings at the end of the night. This is a Verawang wedding book that I got at a garage, so I love to thumb through this as I'm planning my wedding. This was also a gift from one of my friends for Christmas, as well as this is a silk box. It's really beautiful that I use to display those together. We have this beautiful candelabra that was a thrifted find. It's one of my absolute favorites. And then we have this apothecary box over here. I found it painted the butter yellow, and I think it's so cute. Most people would probably not prefer it be painted, but I really like it. I like to have unique little match strikers in our home. This is one that I just created and added a match striker on the bottom. This is actually a film photograph I took when we were in the Cotswolds, and we framed it in this really pretty pine frame that we found on a day trip up north. This is a planner we got in Carmel on my birthday at a boutique shop. We painted our doors Winter Lake by Benjamin Moore, a pop of blue in here. I think it's really good that it kind of pulls all the colors in our home together. I like the blues and the reds. This painting over here is really, really special. I got this at an estate sale of a collector who had loads of art from various well-known artists. And I had gotten to this estate sale, didn't really expect to purchase anything. I figured the prices would be out of budget, but when I got there, the prices were very affordable, and I started circling around to figure out what I was going to take home with me. And by the time I came back around, all the paintings were gone, and I had not seen this one until I made my second round. This is a French artist, and I really like this painting because it reminds me of all my nieces and nephews. I have quite a few, and so I brought it home, and my fiance was enamored by it. He loves it just as much as I do. Here's another really fun picture that we took in the analog film booth on our engagement trip. And I also purchased this on that same trip when we were in Vermont. And I wanted to get something on our travels that I could use to hold my engagement ring when I go to bed at night. And so that's what this is for. It's really sweet. Coming over here, this chair was a thrifted find. I got it at a thrift store, and when I took a picture of it, I sent it to my fiance to get his opinion. It had this beading up around and a blue satin fabric that wasn't my personal favorite. And so I saw the vision. He wasn't quite sure about it, but I actually reupholstered this in fabric from Merchant & Mills, and I just think it's so So lovely. This was also a really fun, it's a bespoke pillow that I kind of helped design. I got it from a gal, Fabric Snug. She's from England, and it's just covered in some really gorgeous fabric, and that's really sweet on our bed. Next, I would love to show you our tiny, cute bathroom. Welcome into my bathroom. We first have this brass sign. This is very cute because in England they have the water closets all about, and I got this while we were in London. And it's really special to us. Coming in here, our favorite thing in the bathroom is our Delft tiles. That was an amazing thrift find. I actually got those for only $2. It was a set of 3, and I ended up purchasing the 4th on Etsy. Again, we love animals, and I really like the story of the dog sitting and kind of looking ahead, and in the very front is the rabbit leading and kind of looking back, and I think that that's very cute. This sink skirt is one of my favorites. I get lots of questions about it. It was from an Etsy shop. It's great for having some extra storage in our small bathroom, and I think it really just adds such a cute cottage touch. Up above me here are plates that I got in Daylesford at that same shop I mentioned earlier. We really love Daylesford, and so these are really special in our bathroom here. Behind the door we have a painting, and it was from that same artist estate where I mentioned I brought home 15 paintings. It was one of the other paintings that I decided to keep, and it really is so gorgeous. I like the blue. It pulls in the blue from the bedroom and the blue about our home. And then over here, this is one of my favorite folk swans. I have it displayed above on our toilet storage, and then to the left of it is a really gorgeous folk art frame that I got on Etsy. We have a light sconce from Pookie Lights, and I added a vintage shade on top. I had never seen something been done like this before, but I had this idea to use this brass swan clip to hold our hand towel, and I think it's just so adorable. It's kind of different than what you would typically see, and we love it. So our home is 550 square feet. I draw a lot of inspiration from actually a cottage that we go and visit quite often in England. It's pretty small and cozy as well. And so for both of us here, we try to maximize our space as best as we can. What I really love about having a small home is it's quite easy to make it feel cozy. I love to display plates on my wall. I have really gorgeous oil paintings in my home. We try to do our best to really maximize storage here as well. So I, of course, love everything to be cute as well as functional. To me, what makes a home come alive is really the decor pieces that you invite into the space. I love to bring pieces in here that tell a story. We love to travel. A lot of the items that I have in my home we've collected from our travels, and I think that that really makes it feel special. Now let me take you to our kitchen next. Welcome to my kitchen. This is an area in our home that we love to be in. We make many memories in here. We start our mornings with a cup of coffee and end the evening cooking dinner together. This is our hutch over here that we thrifted for this space. We love it because it helps us display all of our vintage dishware, our coffee machine. We've got lots of vintage treasures in here. One of our favorites is this cute apple embroidery that we kind of have hidden over here. It's a little peek into that area. I love to have trinkets in my home. This one is super sweet. This is actually made in England. It's a tea box holder. And I really think this is super cute and functional. These were mugs that we purchased at Daylesford Farm when we were most recently there in May, and I love having fun coffee mugs. We have this lampshade here that I got from Etsy. I get lots of questions about that. It was from a lady made it who lives in England. Coming over here to this area of the kitchen, we have this fabric that I purchased from Merchant & Mills that my friend sewed for me, and we love that it provides us more storage, and we keep my fiance's guitar back behind there. And then this was another lampshade that I covered myself. It's super sweet. I like the cottage feel it gives. And then this is another art piece that we found from the same artist that painted the cowboy art in our family room, in our living room. And then coming over this way, this is the full film photograph that we took on our engagement trip, included with this photo that I printed of our engagement in the apple orchard. Coming down here, this was actually a really sweet gift that my fiance gave me. My Instagram handle is actually Ashton's Cottage, and we joke about it because it's not technically a cottage, but we really try to make it feel like a cottage, and he had this hand embroidered and gifted this to me, and I love this linen towel right here. I love to make coffee and tea for my guests, and so we have our teapot here. This is another really sweet painting that was a commission from an artist in Ukraine that I had her paint for me. Coming over here, this was a birthday gift from my friend. It's a really cute little vase. I like to have my bud vases in it. This is my fiance's favorite lamp in the whole house, if you were to ask him. He really likes the warm ambiance that it creates, and we love having kitchen lighting in our kitchen. This was a lamp this fixture right here is actually from Hui Light. I get lots of questions about this one. We love this one because it gives Parisian vibes, and again, I like to incorporate lots of different elements in my home, and so that's really sweet. Up here, these baskets are really fun. So the cottage that I mentioned we love to stay at in England, she has some baskets displayed in her kitchen, and I was really inspired, and I wanted to create something as well, but I used a rod instead. And I just think it's so cute, and it really draws your eye up living in a small home. And then behind there we have some of our Delft collection. I think it's really sweet. My roots are actually from Danish, Sweden, and England, and it's really sweet to me that I happen to have a lot of that style in my home. This is a kitchen sink skirt. I love sink skirts in general. This one was just actually made out of an IKEA tablecloth. And my friend Colette also sewed this for me. This is a really gorgeous alabaster pedestal that I've got in England. I think it's a really fun different element in the room. I found this butter dish at a charity shop in England, and I think it's just absolutely stunning. We have some of our antique cutting boards behind there. This was a vase that I got on my birthday trip when we went to Carmel, and I just think it's so gorgeous in the kitchen there. We have our cookbooks up above and our jars. Again, we have to always think about storage, so it's a great place to keep some of our bulk foods. So this is our breakfast nook. It's one of our favorite little spots to spend time. We actually had a marble Italian table in here. And as time passes, I feel like my style is constantly transitioning, evolving, and it didn't fit the vibe and style that we were going for. I never thought I'd get rid of it, but I really like this wooden table. It feels very Scandinavian to me. These are maple chairs. We sanded them down actually, and decided not to stain them and just leave them in their raw state. And I think it's really gorgeous. I like the contrast with the table. This is a beautiful antique brass hook. I get lots of questions about this one. I found this at an antique store that was actually closing down, so I got it for an incredible price. This is a beautiful apron that I got in the Cotswolds, as well as this bag. It was another car boot sale find in England. And then this is a pendant from Duval. We love this. It's very simple, and I think it really is perfect for this space. And then this is a gorgeous eclectic painting back there I got from Facebook Marketplace. I went to a home of a girl who was selling her late mother's artwork, and she had tons to choose from, and I left with 3. I decided to keep this one. The blues and orange are a bit strong for kind of what we have going on here, but I really think it fits the space because it's very eclectic and a little bit different. I like the goldfish in the jar. I think it's something you don't see very often. This is more fabric from Merchant & Mills that we created, these curtains. This is super sweet. These are our mail keys and our laundry key. We like to have it right here so that as we're leaving and coming back in, we don't forget to put it there, and so that we don't lose it. Down below we have this beautiful copper watering pail on top of a pine stool, which we love that. And then over here, we covered this door in the color ombre blue by Bear, and I added this peel and stick molding, and then I did a stencil down inside. And the one thing that I love about our home is that everything is reversible because we are renting, and so I have to get really creative with how I can make the home feel more cozy. Up above we have the shelf that we added. There's lots of vintage treasures above. This one over here was actually my late grandmother's, my mom's mom. I never got to meet her, but this was what was displayed in her kitchen, and so that's really special to me. This is a really fun candle holder from one of my good friends in the vintage community. Her name is Nina, and I have it paired with a candlestick from my friend that she gifted me for my birthday. My career started in photography, and it's led me to own a vintage shop. It actually is a fun story because I started collecting vintage for my home one day, and I had an overflowing amount of items. I love thrifting. It's my favorite thing, the hunt of finding an amazing secondhand find. And so it kind of turned into my vintage shop. And I do collections each week. I love bringing different pieces to my audience on my Instagram page. And I find a lot of joy with doing this. I get to couple my photography skills in with the vintage shop as I photograph my items to post to sell. So welcome to my entryway. This is the first impression my guests get as they come into our home. I really tried to keep the colors in here kind of going with the colors that are spread out throughout our home. We have some reds, some yellows, a little bit of blue. This is one of our favorite paintings right here that you see displayed on the wall. So there's an antique store right down the street from my home, and I actually grew up going here quite often with my mom. I would go into this antique store often and see this painting here every single time I went in, and I would just stare at it. I loved it. It was a little out of my budget, and I never expected to ever purchase it. There was one day I spontaneously left with the painting. I didn't even have any intention of purchasing it. The reason we love it so much is we did a lot of traveling our first summer together, and this reminds us of Croatia and our memories there. When we left Croatia, I cried because I loved it so much. So this painting is especially important to us, and it's one we'll never let go of. Coming down here, the Staffordshire dog. So a place we really love to travel to is England. We have been quite a few times. We most recently went this spring in May. This was a dream find for me. I've always wanted to find some Staffordshire dogs while in England. We found these at a car boot sale. They were dug down beneath a bucket of random stuff, and I got them for such an amazing price, and I absolutely adore my Staffordshire dogs. Over here, this vase is from a vintage market I actually do twice a year. I'm a vendor, and I purchased this from the lady who hosts the market, so it's really a sweet little vase here. This is a gorgeous pottery tulip candle holder. My fiance gifted me this for Christmas. It came all the way from Ukraine, and I don't have candles in it currently, but it's one of our favorite candle holders. I love quirky candle holders. You'll kind of see that about the home. It's something I love to collect. Coming over here, we have this mirror that I covered with some stamps from a lovely Instagram shop called Shop Hail on Instagram. And I really like how it feels a little bit imperfect and quirky, and I think that's my favorite thing. I love to have items in my home that aren't necessarily perfect. I think it really adds to the character and the story of the item itself. Over here are some really beautiful, I'll just kind of show these off, these plates I got from my friend at that same vintage market I mentioned. And I love having plates displayed in my home. It really invokes the feelings that I feel when I'm in the Cotswolds. And I think it's really sweet to have plates displayed rather than just art everywhere in your home. It's something unique and different, and I think it really adds a bit of character and difference in the home. We love having a coat rack in our home. It's actually funny because we live in Arizona. It's nice and hot here, but everywhere you go in the summertime, it's really cold inside. So I have my jacket, my coat here, bags, my fiance's hat is right here. I really like to have curtains in my home. I think they bring a really soft touch, especially as you enter into the next room. These were actually a gift that my mom gave me for Christmas one year. They are beautiful linen gauze curtains, and I don't think I'll ever let go of these either. I really like how playful they are right here in this entryway. So something that was really important to me with this rental was having the opportunity to create and make it kind of more my own. When we moved in, the floor had tiles that were okay, but it wasn't my preference. So I actually laid these tiles myself. They're the Chris Loves Julia Floor Pops Peel and Stick. And I think they really give a bit of French aesthetic in here. And we really love traveling, like I said, and we love to go to France as well. And so I like to incorporate different styles in my home that reflect myself and my fiance and where we enjoy spending our time. To me, home is a place where you feel at your most best. You feel like you can relax and be your best self and really just have no pressure and just relax. It's about being together and spending time together, making memories. It was so nice to have you, Homeworthy, but I've got to get going. I've got vintage treasures I need to find. See you later.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.